Okay, you guys, there is a very strange thing happening right now where a young woman with absolutely zero professional qualifications has been inserted at the top of a charity organization that pulled in over $250 million last year. And the media is telling you that you have no right to know or to ask anything about her. The argument being made is that her husband was murdered. Therefore, she has a right to assume the position. And despite the fact that Turning Point USA is a literal charity, and therefore it's not even have to pay tax on that $250 million+ or pay tax on the alleged future billions that it's due to rake in thanks to a deal with a man named Pierre, these talking heads are claiming that the public simply wanting to ensure the person who is running that organization is, I don't know, at a bare minimum, moderately honest about who she says she is. No, that inquiry makes you a monster. So I guess your job is to head to work 9 to 5, receive a flurry of unsolicited emails and text messages reminding you that Charlie Kirk, the innocent man that you watched be executed in broad daylight live, you're to be reminded that that was her Charlie. My Charlie needs your help. Here's how you can give us your 401k and house. The emails have been landing into your inbox at an alarming rate, saying things like that. There's virtually nothing that the feds are telling us about his murder that makes any objective sense. But if you're feeling weird about any of that, you're reminded constantly that she is a grieving widow. She's a grieving widow. That sentence, in my opinion, is this year's Trust the Science. She's a grieving widow. The mainstream media, of course, Zionists implied, are effectively telling you to roll up your sleeves and get the vaccine again, dopes. Tyler Robinson did it. Erica Kirk is grieving. Please allow her to do so in the privacy of the billion-dollar charity that she took over. Remember when they did the 6 feet social distancing thing? They cast that spell. Let your granddad die alone in the hospital. If you desire to see your grandma this Thanksgiving, it's because you're a demon from the gates of hell. Yeah. Resist your human instincts. Obey the government. It's the same kind of messaging, the same kind of emotional manipulation, but it's a new year. Still have questions or concerns about who Erica Kirk is and why she seems to have lied many times on record? Well, you're Satan, and I'm sorry that you are. And also, I would like to remind you that you are destroying Charlie's legacy. Now, it is very important that I remind you, we haven't even said anything yet. A 2-minute trailer resulted in one of the most aggressive preemptive PR strikes that I have ever seen. They posted photos of my manager's infant daughter, my makeup artist, my family members. Lots of voicemail from my producer. Okay, well, this was initially supposed to be just 3 episodes. But now I'm thinking about a season 2 and a season 3. Because if you haven't quite figured me out yet or thought through how we got here, I don't like it when innocent people are targeted and attacked and on rare occasions shot in the neck in broad daylight. No one blinked when entire investigative series and books were written about Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, Meghan Markle, because they're public figures. I've effectively endured 10 years in politics with nonstop exposés and investigations into my background, but we're told Erica is somehow untouchable. Let me tell you something. The truth does not require a multi-million-dollar PR campaign. It also does not fear inspection. So welcome to Bride of Charlie.
We have nothing to hide.
Where should we begin in this story? I think maybe with just a blanket statement. Something is not right with Erica Kirk. And despite a most aggressive influence campaign, which at one point even included a signed letter from the Secretary of Treasury assuring us that Turning Point is above board, an amazing organization, and despite, in addition to that, a flurry of homosexual men making over dramatic videos about sheer evil, no, not mass murdering children, sheer evil, investigating someone at the helm of a billion-dollar company. Despite all of that, the public remains unconvinced that she is simply a grieving widow, because she isn't simply a grieving widow. She's also the CEO and chairman of an organization. In fact, during our preparation for this series, an investigative journalist named Elizabeth Lane went viral on X because what she authored about Erica was brilliant. It just was objectively brilliant. It gave voice to what millions of people worldwide were feeling, but didn't exactly know how to express. And I'm going to read you her words in their entirety because I think it's very important, okay? Elizabeth Lane wrote, "I'm going to be blunt. I have reached the point where I find Erica Kirk to be deeply disturbing, not because of rumors or gossip, but because of consistent, observable patterns of behavior. To be clear, everything I say in this post is my opinion. I am not claiming this is a fact. I am saying this is what I think Erica Kirk is. I come from the world of acting and modeling. I have spent years around social climbers, opportunists, image curators, and people who treat relationships like ladders. That is why I left that world. Most of these people are shallow and harmless. A few are dangerous. Erica falls into the latter category not because she is just ambitious, but because of how calculated and performative her ambition appears to be. I believe she may be a psychopath. What stands out immediately is the reaction that she provokes in other people, which is very common with psychopaths. Across the board, including people who support her publicly, the private reaction is the same. It's, I can't watch her. It's not a criticism, it's just a physical discomfort. People turn off interviews because the presentation feels artificial to the point of being unbearable. Let me explain. That kind of response does not happen accidentally and does not happen often. Research in psychology shows that humans are highly sensitive to emotional incongruence, mismatches between a facial expression, tone, and content. When the effect appears simulated rather than genuine, the brain registers it as a threat. This activates discomfort and avoidance, even if the person cannot consciously explain why. So many of us felt this way, but we could not explain why we could not watch her. Studies on psychopathy, particularly those building on the work of psychologists like Robert Hare, describe traits such as a rehearsed emotional display and shallow affect. These traits can create what observers experience as an uncanny interpersonal dynamic. The discomfort arises, and people want to shut it off because most people rarely encounter extreme affective mimicry in everyday life. So the brain struggles to categorize what it is detecting. Erica is attractive enough, and she had every tool in her possession to sell this organically, except for one thing: emotion. The entire story of what happened could have helped her sell this fully. She really would have been the last person on earth to be a suspect, if not for the FBI's terrible mistakes, Turning Point USA's lies, and her very fake performance. Plenty of attractive, ambitious women move through media spaces without triggering that response, even though we know what they are. This is about something else, an extreme disconnect between presentation that she puts out and the perceived authenticity. Erica is not the archetype of a model actress seeking money and fame and then settling into a quiet life with a wealthy, good-looking husband. She is the wolf type who wants to be in the place of that husband. She is not born for a supporting role. She's a decision maker. She appears to pursue proximity to power, moving fluidly between television, nonprofits, branding opportunities, and ideological spaces that maximize her exposure. Her previous partners are guys that women like her would date, muscular, jacked, good-looking, even though they are not people with huge potential. They are all somewhat established. They are good stepping stones until the right person shows up. Now looking at her previous partners, I would say that Charlie probably was not her type visually, but he was exactly what she was looking for in a man: potential to be a great power. What Erica was looking for is the same thing Hillary Clinton was looking for when she met Bill. She recognized that Bill Clinton was her ticket to power, the power that she could control, and she was right. She realized that she could create a great brand out of him and herself, and they still are a brand, the Clintons. No one in this world can say that those two love each other. They are a brand that works. That's why she's sticking around despite Epstein and Lewinsky. Also, if you think Bill is the decision maker there, you must have never been in close proximity to the Clintons. She moves the game. She is the decision maker. Erica saw a brand with Charlie. She also saw that Charlie could one day become president of the United States if he wanted to. Charlie had the ear of the most powerful segment of any society, students. He was going to be a very important player in politics, and she was not missing that ride. What is striking is how completely her public identity reshapes itself after that relationship begins. The aesthetic, the tone, the values, the presentation all change. Overnight, the persona shifts into the role that best suits Charlie's world: a devoted Christian, modest, a supportive housewife. That kind of rapid adaptation is quite impressive for a usual person, but not for a psychopath because they do it all the time. In my head, the story goes like this. For a moment, it works. She becomes the wife of a rising political figure with access to donors, institutions, and national platforms. At that point, the ceiling isn't social media influence, it's empire building, foundations, global reach, a legacy, a brand, the Kirks. It's obvious that Charlie listens to her, whether it's about donors or the trajectory of Turning Point USA. The most influential figure in any mentally healthy man's life is going to be his wife. She's going to be the biggest influence, and that is just how it is. That is why you need to pick your partner wisely. And everything was going well until Charlie began making decisions based on conscience rather than expansion and money. He turns down money. He refuses to play dirty politics. I am assuming someone like Erica, who married into this because she had a vision for this brand, would not be very happy about that. The life she appears to have signed up for, the power couple, expanding influence, historical relevance, was collapsing into something else entirely. Domesticity, housewife, kids, and now Charlie refusing to accept the money that can make him a global power. A supporting role instead of center stage is not her thing. Her husband died a few days ago, and she walks onto the stage as if she was born there. It comes naturally to her. She knows it and she wants it. Just days after her husband's death, she was already laying out ambitious plans for the company over Zoom. It's obvious she was always deeply involved in the business and knew exactly where to pick up when her turn came. What people struggle to watch, what makes the screen unbearable, is not grief. It's the absence of emotional continuity. Performances can be learned. Trust me, as a former actress, I can speak to that. But emotion cannot be improvised or mimicked if you've never experienced it. That's why I think we are dealing with a psychopath who has never really experienced these emotions and does not know how to play them. And audiences feel it instantly. It's fake. Again, this is just my opinion. It's a good place to start. It is a good place to start because there are a lot of things that Elizabeth said there that I think I am going to be able to prove, adapting her personality to suit the people that she meets, the lies that she tells. I've done a lot of work here speaking to ex-boyfriends, speaking to old classmates. I really wanted to get a sense of who Erica was. And also, in a word, yes, I concur. There is something about her. I don't know any single personality in the media or politics that has had the same effect that Erica has had on people worldwide. She's a rare bird, okay? She has actually managed to unify the left and the right on a single perspective. Think about that, how amazing that is. Say what you will about Hillary Clinton, but she had a true following on the left, right? It was a bloody match back in 2016. Now, beyond Erica, what Elizabeth is diving into here is psychology, right? She's guessing and she's speaking about psychology, a social science that was created, to be very clear, by German mystical Jews, right? They believed in mystical Judaism. They were practicing the occult. Now, if you are a regular viewer of this show, you know that I have sort of obsessed myself with this history over the past 2 years, the books that we read in book club, all about the very dark history of modern psychology and its direct relationship to child abuse, trauma-based mind control. That's what the book, The Assault on Truth, lays out. This person wasn't just an author that was guessing when he wrote this book. He was in control of the Sigmund Freud archives and lost his entire career just trying to ring the alarm on what these scientists knew. He explains that they abuse children with the goal of transforming them into future psychopaths that can be controlled. That is the science that was brought here to America via Operation Paperclip. What began as Project Monarch in Germany ultimately became MK Ultra in America. The Manson murders, the 60s, all of that was our government, CIA gone wild after the assassination of JFK for drugging and experimenting upon citizens with the explicit goal of controlling minds, social engineering, making people get into a formation. These are indisputable and historical facts. This brought forth the dawn of serial killers in America, too many of them with curious ties to the military. Yeah, MKUltra was a military-grade program. Truthfully, behind every unthinkable crime is a deranged psychologist and a prescription cabinet. If you think that MKUltra ever stopped, I hope that the Epstein files and the stunning defense of the Epstein files from our quote-unquote elites helped to shatter that illusion for you. We discussed MK Ultra during the Kamala Chronicles. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, is suing me for merely mentioning MK Ultra on Tim Dillon's show. How bizarre. Why is the president of France, who himself is a victim of minor sex abuse, so concerned about that conversation being opened up? independent study into Sigmund Freud and what he and his colleagues were doing in Vienna is crucial for you to understand what is going on in this world and the way that the world works, okay? Now, pivoting back to Erica and her story, I will tell you my personal opinion and my experience with her. What alarms me about Erica isn't so much the fact that she lies, which we will prove to you over and over again, but it's also the fact that I don't know that she's aware that she's lying. It's almost as though she doesn't remember. Like the version that she's telling us today or yesterday was just recently downloaded into her mind, and she therefore thinks it's true, like a faulty memory or something. I'm saying that I'm not sure if she's fully aware that she's lying, because it's like some of the lies are so stupid. She's just sort of going. I want you to also know, by the way, of course, we reached out ahead of this episode. We reached out to her specifically with just 4 questions pertaining to past statements that she's made that do not appear to align with the reality of what we have discovered, okay? For example, here's just one example. We are told that Erica Franzwey was raised by a strong, independent, entrepreneurial, single mother who taught her how to be a good Christian, a devout Catholic mother. Lori Franzwey, right? As an aside, that this Catholic mom, who am I to judge Catholics, but she's been married 4 times that I can see. We'll talk about that more down the line. More importantly, though, you will recall that Erica sat down for an in-person interview with the New York Times days after Charlie was publicly assassinated, and she confirmed to them that the least traumatizing part about Charlie's assassination was the prospect of her now having to raise her children alone. She wasn't traumatized by that idea because she had seen the example set for her by her mother growing up. As People magazine later echoed, quote, Erica Kirk has learned a lot from her mother, Lori Franzwey. After welcoming her daughter in November of 1988, Franzwey divorced Erica's father, Kent Franzwey, and raised her as a single mother in Scottsdale, Arizona. Lori spent nearly 2 decades working for General Electric before founding multiple companies in the network security industry, according to her LinkedIn. So you can see they're seeding the public with the idea that you can raise kids and be a single mom and also be a CEO and boss babe it. Okay. The only problem is that it's just not true. Erica was not raised by a single mother, like at all. Erica's father, Kent Franzwey, by the way, he's Kenneth Franzwey, but he goes by Kent, was always in her life. So much so that for entire years of her childhood, Kent was actually a stay-at-home dad. So almost the exact opposite thing was true at one point. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You can actually take Erica's. Take a listen.
Hold on. I do not want to knock the stay-at-home dads. I do not. There are some who had to temporarily have to switch that role. That happened to my parents a long time ago. Granted, again, they got a divorce, so that probably falls into your bucket. But
I am an anthropologist.
But my dad was a stay-at-home dad for a few years, and I got to say it was really sweet and really special. I was 4, but that was...
Of course, it's not an indictment of the morality.
No, but if you're saying from the get-go, I want to be a stay-at-home
It is a imbalance.
dad.
It's an imbalance of nature.
So, stay-at-home dad for a couple of years. She remembers it, so I would assume started at 4 for a couple of years. People don't typically remember being 1 and 2, and now he wasn't in her life. Now, to be clear, Erica was 10 years old when her parents divorced in 1998. So her father was very much a part of her early childhood, and he did not stop being involved in her teenage years either. I've spoken with classmates, past boyfriends, and people are generally bewildered as to why Erica is now publicly representing as though she does not have a relationship with Kent, the man that she claims is her father, at least. Or also something she fails to mention is that even if you removed Kent, Erica was raised with her stepfather in her home, a man named Larry Ginta. In her high school yearbook, actually, Kent is included, her father, biological father, in a collage, and so are his parents, her grandparents, Carl and Elaine. So we can reasonably assume that her father was in her life. We can also assume from that photo that Erica was exceedingly close to her stepfather too. You can bring that back up and I'll show that. But he's featured there too. You've got Larry in the photo because he has been a fixture in her life since before her parents' divorce was ever finalized. Because both he and his son are also in the collage. I confirmed with classmates Larry and Lori were together since Erica's elementary school days. In other words, Erica grew up in a situation that is now termed as a bonus dad. Both her biological father and her stepfather figure were present and all living in and around the Scottsdale area. So why this little public misrepresentation? I would be super offended if I was a stay-at-home dad and then suddenly you've got someone saying, I was all alone. My mom did it all by herself. Now, you will see throughout this investigation that there are a lot of little wrinkles like this in Erica's story. The question is, what broader purpose do they serve? Because I thought about that, and I remember reading in Xavier Poussard's book, Becoming Brigitte, that it is actually an intentional strategy of deception, a strategy used by the media in creating and curating a legend about, in this case, he was talking about Brigitte, how the press would intentionally make minor edits or overlook certain dates, small adjustments made over a long period of time, a date wrong here, an age miscalculation there, just ever so slightly, because minor tweaks over a long period of time aren't noticeable, even though they ultimately amount to a big lie. This is exactly what I have found to be immediately frustrating about examining Erica's life. Minor tweaks that almost look like they could be mistakes. And you go, but really? Do people make these kinds of mistakes? Let's start with her birthday. Okay, I'll give you another example here. Erica Franzwey, we are told, was born on November 20th, 1988 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Great, there's a newspaper relic announcing her birth 2 weeks later on December 6th. It tells us that she was born at Good Samaritan Hospital. Fantastic. To Kent and Lori Franzwey. Check. Amazing. By the way, it's just something to note about Good Samaritan Hospital, a little fun fact. That actually used to be the U.S. Marines Hospital, one that once upon a time caused a little bit of a scandal for unethically experimenting on the brains of patients. Anyway, the story goes that the U.S. Marine Hospital just up and decided to gift the hospital to the Catholic Sisters of Charity out of the goodness of their Marine hearts or something, because our military is known for that, just being really, really kind and giving up hospitals. Point is, we learned from this newspaper clipping that Erica was born on November 20th, and she maintains that birthday today. But oddly, that would be news to her parents. Kent and Lori, for whatever reason, think that Erica was born 2 days later on November 22nd. We know this because of their divorce filings, which took place in 1998. On that divorce initial filing, Lori, who filed, lists Erica as having been born on November 22nd, multiple times. Now, in case you're thinking, well, maybe this was a mistake, you should know that the filing done by her mother, Lori, only has 4 statements of fact. It's effectively a one-pager. One of the facts is that Kent and Lori were married on November 20th, 1995 in Marblehead, Massachusetts. So they decided to get married on what would have been Erica's 7th birthday. Okay, that's strange. I mean, at least the birthday she says she has, but this document is saying, no, she's born 2 days later, so I guess it wasn't her 7th birthday. Attached to this document, which was filed on July 20th, 1998, is another document that I can only assume was scanned in with an intention to further confuse people. It's a separation agreement, which is not notarized. It's not dated, so it's almost not relevant. And it completely edits the date of the marriage between Kent and Lori from November 20th, 1995 down to November 7th, 1982. A casual 13 years and 13 days wiped out, okay? Like I said, you can just ignore that because I think that document was just put in there to confuse people. Take it from me, I'm a notary, one in the state of New York, although my license is expired. You can't just skip over a notary portion of a document and just be fine with that. In fact, we decided to dig through Ohio law and other publicly available divorce documents to see what they look like, and they are legitimate. And here is a side-by-side so you can see on the right is what is scanned into their file with totally different dates. And on the left, you can see that that's what it should look like. You get it notarized, okay? But it's going to get even more absurd when we examine the divorce decree. So for the uninitiated, the first document is just the filing. I, Lori, am pursuing a divorce, and here are the facts. And now what comes after that is the decree or the final judgment, okay? Now, I do want to note that this was the fastest divorce in the history of divorce because she filed on July 20th, 1998. And then we have a decree on November 10th of the same year. So this is like 3 months later. Once again, the marriage date is listed, the initial marriage date between Kent and Lori, as November 20th, 1995 in Marblehead, Massachusetts. But oddly, you can see that somebody just went in and tried to edit that date by hand afterward, adjusting the wedding date down this time to 1985, not 1982, hoping, I guess, that no one would catch that. I guess the unnotarized 1982 that we saw in the initial filing was too difficult. It would have been too obvious. So this time they're attempting to do it by hand and edit the date of marriage back just 10 years, not 13 years. This is not subtle. It is not normal, and it bothers me greatly. Take it from someone who is chronically being sued. That is not how modifications work on court documents. You can't just use a pen and write something on a divorce decree. You just can't do that. People have to initial, you got to date, you got to see who saw it. This is crazy to me. My suspicion, and again, this is just a general suspicion, is that this was done after the fact. Maybe someone had a friend down at the county clerk who was responsible for scanning those docs into the system. And they just kind of did that. Because that's not real life. That's just not real life. And once again, that has another casually added separation agreement, which is still not notarized, with an entirely different date of marriage. And the crazy part is that the separation agreement, in that separation agreement, Kent Francevey is waiving his rights to an attorney with no notary present. He just agrees that Lori's lawyer can represent him on everything. So what are we to discern from this? We are at 4 different plausible marriage dates between Kent and Lori Francevey across 2 documents. I should also add that I could not find a single trace of their alleged marriage in Marblehead, Massachusetts. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but I couldn't find it across any date. And Marblehead, I would like to note, is certainly an interesting town to pick because it's the recognized birthplace of the Marine Corps. We're going to keep hearing the Marines coming up throughout this entire story. We're just laying the groundwork here. Now, I should note, to be responsible here, that there are divorce-related documents that are available in Ohio online that we simply are not allowed to have access to. Like, people have privacy. That makes sense. So it's entirely plausible that they went in and fixed these glaring errors that for some reason a judge, we're supposed to believe a judge signed off on this many wacky different dates. But the point here is just to demonstrate to you how even the most mundane facts about Erica's life are frustrating to verify. And that's just an appetizer, my friends. Because then we received a very interesting email from Sweden. Yeah, my Sweden fans, what's up? What's up, Sweden? And it led me to even more questions about Erica's paternity. We are going to be right back after a break. All right, you guys, some good news. Thanks to you, last year, Preborn helped rescue over 80,000 babies. And today, you can help save even more. Every single day, thousands of women hear the same devastating lie that abortion is their only option, that they're alone, and that there's no hope. But everything changes the moment a mother in crisis walks into a Preborn network clinic and sees her baby on an ultrasound. That one moment doubles her chance of choosing life. It's not just an image on a screen. They realize that it's hearing their baby's heartbeat, maybe for the very first time, and in that moment recognizing there is life growing inside of her. It's not a problem that needs to be solved. It's a life that needs to be protected. Let's be there for her in that beautiful moment with love, prayer, and support. For just $28, you can provide 1 life-saving ultrasound, and $140 provides 5 ultrasounds and 5 chances for life. This year, let's make it the biggest baby-saving year in history. Take a stand, be bold, speak for those who can't speak for themselves. If you'd like to donate, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby, or just visit preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. I also want to speak to you guys about credit for a second because nobody really teaches you how you should be building it. And if your credit score is low or non-existent, it can feel impossible to fix. That's where Kickoff comes in. Kickoff is designed to help you build credit safely and simply without taking on debt or stressing over complicated rules. Users with credit under 600 grew an average of 25 points in their first month with on-time payments, with transparent, affordable plans starting at just $5 a month, no hidden fees, and zero interest. Kickoff helps you score big when it comes to credit. It's simple. You make on-time payments, and then credit bureaus see good behavior, and your credit can grow really fast. With the premium or ultimate plan, the rent reporting feature helps you build credit with the rent that you already pay. Plus, only positive on-time rent payments get reported to help boost your credit. You can sign up in minutes from your phone. There's no credit check, no hidden fees, and no interest. So start building credit with Kickoff today and get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price. Visit GetKickoff, KIKOFF.com/Candace.
Must sign up via getkickoff.com/Candace to activate offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first-year credit score impact of plus 84 points, Vantage Score 3.0, between January 2023 and January 2024 for Kickoff credit account users who started with a score below 600, who paid on time, and who had no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during the period. Late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary.
Also, on that same note, whether you are struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt has custom options to help you get out of debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and to craft a personalized plan that is designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, which is obviously in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. It boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and it holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. Every month you wait, it costs you more in interest and fees. There is no better time to start taking control of your debt than right now. So do not wait another month. Take back control in 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you by visiting pdsdebt.com/Candace. Again, that's pdsdebt.com/Candace. Okay, so we obviously cannot go so far as to suggest that Lori, Loretta Abbas, Stanley Wallstad, Franzwey was openly committing fraud. We can't say that. What we can confirm to you, however, is that if she was doing that, breaking the law and committing fraud is something that Lori's family is kind of historically known for. They kind of arrived into this country doing just that. You see, Lori Franzwey, like I said, was born Loretta Abbas. She was named after her Syrian grandmother, Loretta Abbas. I want to sear into your mind right now that the Abbas family history is steep in gambling and casinos. All about gambling and casinos specifically. As we go along in this series, the history and the present of gambling casinos is going to become increasingly relevant. So let's bring in the OG Loretta Abbas, Erica's great-grandmother who died in 1990, who was just constantly being arrested for running illegal slot machines. Okay, she came over from Syria and she got to work bringing filth and fraud in Pennsylvania. You check out this article from 1941 where she testifies that she ran numbers. It says Loretta Abbas of Washington, Thomas Roberts, whatever, testified that they engage in the numbers business and had been arrested on numerous occasions. They explained their role in the numbers lottery without giving any direct testimony against the defendants. Okay, here's another one. We could keep going, but here's another article from 1944 where she pleads guilty to a lottery charge. It was before the court. She wasn't lying. She's always arrested on a lottery charge. The state police had a search warrant, and when they entered her house, they found a quantity of number slips. She was sentenced to pay the cost and $200 or 5 months in the county jail. Like I said, this was a family thing. Her husband was Mason Abbas, and he was magnificently fraudulent. I'm talking high-speed chases down the highway, lottery tickets blowing in the wind. Check out this article from 1935, and it tells us that he was overtaken in his automobile after a chase of several miles after he had failed to obey the officer's order to stop. Yes, Mason Abbas was arrested yesterday by County Detective Frank Krebs. Before an alderman, he was held for court in default of a $1,000 bond on a charge of conducting a lottery and was fined $10 and costs for refusing to stop when ordered to do so by a uniformed officer. During the race along the National Pike, which ended in West Alexander, Abbas is alleged to have thrown a package of 100 lottery tickets from his car. Officers recovered the tickets and are holding them as evidence. Yes. Lottery, gambling, slot machines. Again, sear that into your mind. Not just on Erica's maternal side of the family, not just the Abbas side, but also the Swedish side, the Franzwey side. The Swedish side of the family I will be clear, there's a notable difference. It seems like they've been involved legally. Carl Kenneth Franzwey is Erica's paternal grandfather. Okay, he participated extensively in horse racing. More crucially, though, he was an executive at the American Banknote Company in Illinois. This is the company that was responsible for printing lottery tickets. It's a big contract, a big deal. Here he is in a newspaper in 1974 doing just that. It reads, printing began this week on the first Illinois state lottery tickets. Up to 10,000 agents. It tells us at the bottom there that Kent Franzwey of the American Banknote Company, the printer, examines the first tickets of the initial press run. Let's stick with Grandpa Carl Kenneth Franzwey for a little bit because he is, by all accounts, obviously Swedish. Erica herself is therefore Syrian Lebanese on her mother's side and Swedish on her father's side. So something which struck me as immediately odd about Erica is just how deeply she identifies as Swedish, despite her public insistence that she was raised by a quote-unquote single mother. Think about that just from a social perspective. If Erica was indeed raised by a single mother, wouldn't you expect her to identify more deeply with those Lebanese Syrian roots, right? You might even understand it if she resented her Swedish roots. Like, my dad didn't do anything, and so I'm not even doing anything with the Swedes. I don't even like being Swedish. To the contrary, Erica feels so deeply attached to her Scandinavian roots that in 2019, she moved to begin the process of obtaining her dual citizenship. She posted this herself, where she is, dual citizenship commenced. Okay. Maybe you're thinking logically, well, she loves her grandpa. I had a fantastic grandpa. I get that. I should mention she comes from a very long line of the Swedish Freemasons. She definitively was close to her grandfather. We know this because she posts about him many, many times over the years, referring to him affectionately as her morfar. Saw this over and over again. You just see posts of him on how much she loves him. She even mentioned her grandmother there. That's his wife, Elaine. And she says, she is my angel in heaven, but I usually call her Mormor. So that's her morfar and her mormor. Show you another post, just her grandfather, where she's going to talk about reflecting upon losing him. In 2016, she's posting this, and she, again, is going to address him as her morfar. This appears to be another wrinkle. You see, I received a flurry of emails from our fans in Sweden about this particular post, and they did not like this post. And what they told me about it, they didn't like about it, made me reconsider things. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but they said, Candace, Erica is referring to her grandfather as her morfar. I was like, okay. So I looked it up. It means grandfather in Swedish. Like, maybe she doesn't, but it's cute. Okay. Maybe she's not fluent, but it's cute. And then they explained it to me a little further. They said, no, Candace, the Swedish language is quite literal here. Morfar quite literally translates into mother's father, morfar. And farfar quite literally translates into father's father. We have different words for these things. These have entirely different meanings. You would never call your father's mother your morfar. You would never call, and that's what she's doing. She's calling him her morfar. That is Erica's farfar. If Kent is her father, her father's father is her farfar. She said, a woman emailed this, she said, no Swedish grandfather would ever allow you to refer to him as morfar if he was not actually your morfar, okay? If he was your farfar, he'd say, very cute, I'm your farfar, let's get that straight. This would be something akin to being someone's grandfather and allowing them to call you uncle. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Words have meaning. So why is her very Swedish grandfather, so Swedish, this line of Freemasons, Masons Swedish, allowing Erica to call him my mother's father? Lori's father? No, it's not Lori's father. What's going on here? This is an incredibly interesting wrinkle, which brings us to a point where we should introduce you to the family tree so you can just kind of see what's going on here, because this morfar farfar scandal troubles me deeply. Is Erica lying? Is she mistaking? Is she making a mistake at all? Or is she accidentally actually trying to tell us the truth? Let's take a look at some other interesting tidbits. On March 21st of 2019, Erica visits with Charlie. She's in Jerusalem with Charlie, what is known as Zion's Gate in Jerusalem. She posts a picture with a pretty curious caption. It reads in part, meet Darla, a Romanian Jew that now calls Israel home. She was sitting by my family's dedication sign for restoring the Zion Gate in Jerusalem. Oh. What? Why is Erica describing the Zion's Gate as her family's dedication? Speaking of which, why does her one-time roommate, Nicole Rothstein, allege that half of their family, referring to her and Erica's family, is Jewish? Doesn't make sense. She also claimed that after Charlie's assassination, that Erica, she was online going back and forth with people, that Erica was her best friend and her cousin. Nicole Rothstein said this. Now, I want to be clear, the Rothstein family, the Zion's Gate is their dedication. Nicole wouldn't be lying if she posted that it was her family's dedication, but Erica? Also, how did Erica and Nicole Rothstein get so close? Remember, Erica presents that she was raised by a single mother on the Lebanese side. If Erica is telling the truth about her paternity, then Nicole Rothstein, I want you to understand who this would be to her. Nicole Rothstein, it's going to sound ridiculous, but this is the reality if Erica's telling the truth. Nicole Rothstein would be Erica's father's sister's husband's previous wife's daughter's daughter. In other words, zero blood relation, not even kind of related, kind of crazy. You would even call each other cousins. People do that. It's cool. It's my cousin. It's my cousin. Okay, cool. Erica goes a little further, though. Erica also posted a lovely tribute to Alan Rothstein, Nicole's father, online. She calls him Uncle. Uncle? Whoa. If Erica's telling the truth about who her parents are, to Erica, that would be her father's sister's husband's previous wife's daughter's husband. Suffice it to say, again, absolutely zero blood relation, and yet Erica is extraordinarily close to him as well. Now, we can show you on the family chart just how removed this is. It's insane. Okay, but we actually couldn't even fit it. It's so far removed. So you've got her aunt, Carla, is married to a guy named Jack, but Jack was also previously married to somebody else, which you see there named Edna. And this is Edna and Jack's line. This has nothing to do with Erica Franzwey. Again, how did she get so close to these people? Why is she referring to them as her family and declaring that Zion's Gate, which is actually their family's dedication, which has nothing to do with her aunt Carla, why is she saying that that's her family's dedication? That makes no sense. I'm struck by this. We could imagine how it could make sense. Now, again, we're imagining here. We're trying to make sense of the things that Erica is saying. I could imagine a very easy way it could actually make sense. Her closeness to the Rothsteins, her dedication to Jerusalem, if and only if we take Erica literally when she says Morfar. Let's assume that Grandpa Carl is indeed her mother's father. That would mean, well, obviously, Lori's wouldn't be her mother. It would also mean that Kent, just by nature of him being a man, is not her father. We're looking for her mother's father. So we have to start looking at Kent's siblings that are females. That would give us only 3 options. We can bring this back up. One of Kent's sisters would be my first pick. Again, we're in conspiracy land here, but I'd go with Carla because she's married to Jack Solomon, and that is Jack Solomon's dedication. Carla wasn't even married to Jack until 2002. She just jumped in and was like, this is my whole family and my family's dedication. No. But if Carla, her mother's father, if her mother was Carla, actually it would all make sense. Solomon is the very man who financed the restoration of Zion's Gate in Jerusalem. If Jack Solomon was her father, then Nicole Rothstein would indeed be her blood relative cousin. But again, that's purely speculation. We don't have to go into speculation. Let's give you the facts more about Jack Solomon. What is factual is that Jack Solomon eventually marries Carla Franzwey in 2002. And there are also some other really interesting facts about Jack. Jack and Erica's mommy aunt, I don't know, Carla, live in Utah. He graduated from what is today known as Utah Valley University. He's very involved in the university. It was formerly known as Utah Valley State College when he graduated from there. He also created on their campus the Center for Jewish Studies. I mean, at the very least, you'd think with all of the money that he poured into that university, he might be able to call someone to get us more footage of Tyler Robinson. Or Carla. How about Carla? She's married to the man. She could have maybe, in my imagination, made it to the hospital when Charlie was shot and killed. I mean, why did none of them make it to the hospital? They're all so nearby. She still lives in Utah. This happened in their backyard. Their family has a lot of power at UVU. Why not Auntie Carla rather than Stacey Sheridan accompanying you onto Air Force Two as your husband's body is escorted to Arizona? Jack Solomon was also a professor at BYU in political science. He's the former director of the university's Jerusalem Center. He also served on the Center for Jewish Studies on the board at UVU. Zion's Gate, like I said, is his dedication. And if you're wondering how Jack got so rich, it's because back in 1968, Jack and his business partner, a man named Norman Vance, began a company called Advanced Patent Technology. That company would go on to manufacture slot machines. You got it. Slot machines. Everybody's, it's just amazing. It's like everyone is involved in gambling. Per his bio, in 1974, Jack gathered more than $5 million to purchase United Coin, the manufacturer of slot machines and the holder of a profitable Southern Nevada slot machine routes. In 1979, they announced plans for the Colorado Bell Hotel and Casino in Lachlan, Nevada, the first of a series of hotels to be built in the Las Vegas area. They had a lot of power in that area. Where were they? I don't know. It's an interesting connection. I am marking that for all of the YouTubers who are interested in investigation. The gambling thing keeps coming up. And I guess, as me and Charlie used to say, the rest is future. We'll be right back after a quick break. All right, you know I'm going to tell you about Nimi Skincare because it is the only skincare brand that I've actually stayed consistent with. It's what I use, it's what I trust, and it's what my routine is built around. A lot of people think that anti-aging is about finding the strongest product or the newest trend. But the reality is aging does not happen overnight. It happens slowly over time when your skin loses support, protection, and consistency. That's why Nimi's 3-step anti-aging routine is a smart choice for the long term. It focuses on the real drivers of aging, things like collagen breakdown, environmental stress, and a weakening skin barrier, instead of just quick fixes. The routine uses proven actives like vitamin C, peptides, and retinol, but the bigger difference is that they're designed to work together. You're supporting your skin in the morning, protecting it throughout the day, and helping it renew overnight. Equally as important is the fact that it's simple. It's not about doing more, it's about doing the right things over time. You can find Nimi at nimiskincare.com. And if you use my code Candace10 at checkout, you will save an additional 10% off your order. That's nimiskincare.com, promo code Candace10. Also, I want to tell you guys about Pure Talk because if you are looking to get ahead of spring cleaning this year, I know right where you should begin. Go drag your old wireless contract out of the closet and toss it in the trash. Then freshen things up by switching to Pure Talk, which is my wireless company. Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month with no contract, no cancellation fees, and no overseas customer service if you ever need help. Maybe you'll like them as much as one of my listeners, Patricia, does. She says that it was, quote, fast, simple, and I got to keep my phone number. It's less expensive and supports a company that shares my values. I'm very happy overall. I received a mailer after hearing about it from Candace's show. I decided to give it a try. So far, so good. And now it's time for you guys to make the switch as well. Head to puretalk.com/Owens and you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Owens and switch to a wireless company that shares your values. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. And if you are a homeowner, you need to listen to this because the FBI has been warning homeowners about a type of real estate fraud that's on the rise, title theft. This type of theft doesn't happen by breaking down your doors and stealing your stuff. It happens with a one-page document with a forged signature that gets filed at the county. If your title, that's the legal record of your ownership, gets transferred out of your name, criminals can then use your ownership to drain your equity or even sell your property. You won't even know about it until you start getting collection or foreclosure notices in the mail. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock so that you can protect your equity and find out today if you are already a victim. Use my promo code Candace at HomeTitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That is 24/7 monitoring of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud occurs, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Again, that's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Candace, or just use the link in the description below. All right, now for some fun, because remember when they were freaking out about me discussing time travel, me discussing specifically Project Looking Glass, the CIA thing that actually happened? They allegedly stole Sumerian technology to peer into the future. Well, you have to imagine my surprise when I began looking into Erica's early years. For some reason, I was under the impression, maybe you were too, that Erica moved to Arizona after her parents' divorce. So that would put her in Arizona after 1998. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt here because it's a minor wrinkle, but her parents didn't divorce until she was 10. But it's totally possible, like when you're a kid and your parents are separating many times before they get divorced, that you associate a divorce with a separation. Anyway, here's the true timeline. Erica was in Cincinnati, Ohio for daycare in 1992. She attended a place called Walnut Corner Children's Center in Cincinnati, Ohio, located inside of a massive corporate building. Oddly, the filing for that daycare doesn't have a floor number, but I can show you this photo of her at daycare. LOL, by the way, to her being dressed as a little bee and accidentally throwing up some Freemason hand signs. That's just like a nice ad. She looks adorable. Thereafter, she moves to Arizona and she attends a school that they have virtually tried to wipe from public existence. Now, it's very difficult to explain this unless you're in the weeds, but there is another school by the same name that goes on for a little bit longer. But this particular school came to fruition when a man named John T. Goley incorporated Educational Alternatives up in Minnesota. It was called Educational Alternatives Incorporated. Now, John T. Goley was a big guy. He had formerly helped launch Roundup Monsanto, just a little bit of government poisoning you, giving you a bunch of cancer. This time, though, he was pioneering charter schools in America. He teamed up with the Walton family, the Bush family. Yeah, everybody involved in this school that Erica's going to attend. It's interesting. I don't know. Don't you want to go to school where the Bushes, the Waltons, Monsanto is getting together a school? I don't know. Want to send your kids? Anyways, John T. Goley and Jeb Bush went on to Good Morning America to announce the project. The schools would come to be known as Tesseract schools, named after the children's book, A Wrinkle in Time, a story about time travel. The protagonists of that book fly through space and time using a Tesseract to rescue their family from evil forces. It's a battle between good and evil using time travel, and it's about to get even more fun. Because when these powerful families decided to start the Tesseract School in Arizona, they began with a small school in Paradise Valley first. It is that specific school that Erica attended that is virtually impossible to come by many documents regarding. They needed a space for the school, and they decided they were going to rent the building that was owned by a Jewish school. Forgive my terrible Hebrew, but the school, I kid you not, was called Gan Yaladim Looking Glass School. It's like, I just love this so much. So Tesseract was put into a looking glass. I just think it's fantastic. I just imagine they thought I was like dropping some clues. I was like, why are they all freaking out about this episode about Project Looking Glass? They probably thought I had already known that she went to this looking glass school, this little elite looking glass school down in Arizona. By the way, Tesseract, the school itself, is exceedingly Jewish in terms of the administration. It was run by Jewish executive directors. The teachers are all Jewish. Obviously, you know me. I'm nosy. I tracked down the yearbooks. I mean, I was working really hard while I was off. And I can show you that Erica was at school. I don't have every year yet, but I do have some years, 1995 to 1996 in first grade, 1996 to 1997 in second grade, and 1997 to 1998, which is her in third grade. I got to tell you, I am so glad that I found this Tesseract. I didn't get to time travel with it. I don't think I did. You think they saw me in the looking glass? How panicked were they when I said looking glass? Whoa, no, she's talking about Project Looking Glass. That's crazy. Meanwhile, they're down in Arizona, like naming their schools Project Looking Glass, like Looking Glass Tesseract. Put them in the school. I just love that. It was like an accidental troll. But what is very exciting about finding her at this school is that it unlocked a lot of important things that needed to be known about Erica's life and her connections. I mean, wow. speaking to people who went to that school, the one in Paradise Valley, to be very clear. There's other Tesseracts. It got shut down. The one I'm talking about got shut down in the year 2000. And then other schools, because they had other schools, kept going. They changed ownership. But this one was there for a very small amount of time. I'm looking at the yearbooks, and there are some interesting players involved in this school that kind of went down for fraud, just robbing the piggy bank. It's like a recurring theme. We're going to stop here, though, for today, because that's a lot. I've given you a lot today to digest, and we should probably get to comments. It's just a lot, guys. There's a lot going on with that Tesseract school. We'll be back after a short break. All right, you guys, between groceries, travel, and higher prices, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially if you are already relying on credit cards to cover the basics. If that debt is piling up, you are not alone. If you're a homeowner, you might have considered reaching out to American Financing, but maybe hesitated because you don't want to give up that low mortgage rate. Well, that's why American Financing created the Smart Equity Loan, which is a simple, smart way to get your finances back on track without giving up your low mortgage rate. Unlike a HELOC, which can fluctuate with the market, the Smart Equity Loan offers a fixed rate, so you'll have one predictable monthly payment. It lets you use your home's equity to pay off high interest debt, free up your cash flow, and still keep your existing mortgage intact. There are no upfront fees to find out if you qualify, so call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That's americanfinancing.net/Owens. Also, I remind you guys about Tax Network USA, because maybe you owe back taxes, maybe you've not filed tax returns, or you have filed every year but still somehow kept owing. If you maybe retired and suddenly got hit with a tax bill that you didn't expect, or pulled money from your 401k or your IRA early, and now the IRS wants its share. Well, however your tax issue started, the outcome is the same. Your balance is not going down. Penalties grow, interest compounds, and many of you are about to owe again for this upcoming tax year with no plan in place. So stop what you're doing and call Tax Network USA. With over 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case that they have not seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies, and they help taxpayers nationwide get back on track with resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They are offering a free investigation call with the IRS, and after that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. So do not wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Call 866-686-1651 or visit tnusa.com/Candace. Again, that's tnusa.com/Candace. The more far scandal. I see you guys in the chat. Why is it so fun to say? Also, why aren't we doing that? It's so, like, we should be saying that. We want to say that now. I want to adopt that. I want to say that's my far. That's my more far. Like, that just makes sense. I hate having to explain that's my mother's fault. It's like, why can't we just call my far? That's my far. That's my more far. Anyways, you guys are killing it over there in Sweden. That was fantastic. And I loved that tidbit. That was like a journey. I'm like, what? You can't just say that. You can't just call him, you can't call your more far if he's your far. I get it. I'm Swedish now. I'm into the culture. Okay, but by the way, do you think they have a looking glass? Like, I'm just wondering, why were they spazzing out about it? And I look at this, why are the Jewish people naming their schools Looking Glass? I'm just wondering. It's just like creative and fun to call a school of a looking glass. I'm just saying, just asking questions. I'm just asking questions while it's still legal. And it's not going to be legal for long. Okay, Jenny writes in the comment section, you are loved and supported by many. Christ is king. Thank you. I keep going because it's important that we get to the bottom of what is going on in this world. It is so crazy what they are trying to do. It's like day in and day out. It's a psychological operation on the masses. Like, you're awful, you're terrible, you're demonic. I mean, it was like exceptional yesterday. I was like, I haven't even said anything. We dropped a trailer. Why are we not allowed to know anything about Erica's life? Who got harmed learning that Erica went to a Tesseract school? Who was harmed in the making by learning these facts? It's just true. I didn't accuse her of killing Charlie Kirk. I'm telling you who this person is because she's at the helm of this company. It might be relevant to know whether or not she's telling us the truth about her background at all. And thus far, and as we get further into the story, you will see that she's not, or she's misremembering. I don't know. I'm not going to assign any maliciousness into her very many mistakes about her background. Stars 333 writes, I missed you. Girl, it's been a long week without you. Got my Standis cup full and ready for this banger of a series. Go Max. Thank you so much. Blue Appetite writes, we all want a friend like Candace. When Ish hits the fan, Charlie deserves the truth to be found out. And we all know you're doing everything in your power to get there. Go Max, Candace. The thing about the Zionists, they always are forecasting something. Why are you freaking out about an investigative series if your whole premise is she's just an innocent grieving widow? Don't you appreciate how stupid you look? You're basically saying she's not a grieving widow. Obviously she's not, because if you investigate her, you're going to find something. Like, are you guys just not smart? Like, you should be like, oh, interesting. Well, she's great. So what are you going to investigate? No, they're like, pray for Erica. Someone's looking into her background. Pray. Oh, she will need your prayers. Her children need your prayers. They were doing that. Pray for her children. Why? Because she's at the office the whole time? Like, what was that? What was that freak out panic? When have we ever done anything to the children at all? Ever said anything? Of course, we want the children to be great. You should not be praying for the children because an investigative series is coming out about their mother who has chosen to be the CEO in her husband's stead. That's a decision that was made. Okay? So here we are. You want to be in the realm of politics. You want to be here. You want to be telling people who to vote for the future president of the United States in 2028 as you come out to Sparklers. Okay, well then put on your big girl pants. You don't get to play the role of a grieving widow when people want to know who you are, especially when you're telling lies. How about that? Can we just go back to a little bit of common sense? No, they have money. They got crazy money. They got casino money, I guess. Let me stop. I should probably get off air. Crypto writes, go Sweden. Yes, I loved all of the Swedish flags in the chat. That was fun. KPKP writes, my kids ran around the house screaming. We are listening to Candace. I just reflected at how happy I am to hear that on so many levels. Thank you, Candace, from my humble family to yours. We love you and your crew. Thank you so much. I love you guys too. And I love hearing that the kids are watching the show. I hope I always keep it family friendly. Look, I brought up a children's book today, Wrinkle in Time. I'm family friendly. There we go. Colleen Dolan says, tell me they were allegedly involved without telling me. Trump inviting Erica to the State of the Union. Everything is fake and gay. Well, that was offered to us as an excuse as to why she could not answer. First we gave her 10, then we reduced it to 4 questions for today's episode. And they were not like exactly cumbersome questions. It was basic questions. Why, if you grew up with a single mom, did you pursue your Swedish citizenship? Is your mother actually married to Larry? Is it a real marriage, or does she just use his last name? Like, just trying to be a little bit more precise, but we will just have to take her in terms of what she said. And we offered those other questions. Hopefully she will have them in time for tomorrow, those answers. Fergie writes, in my 10 to 11 years of experience in this fight, those who tell you that you are spreading disinformation and then they tell you that you hate are the exact ones that you should be following and that are over the target. Those who tell you that you are spreading disinformation and then tell you that you should hate them are the exact ones to follow, and they're telling you that you're over the target. Brittany Watson writes, yes, our investigative journalist, crime-fighting superhero is back. Kudos to you, Candace. You have the whole world watching, praying for you and your team's safety. Christ is king. Yeah, crazy. I've never seen it in politics. I'm not being funny. I've never seen it in politics. As ugly as it's been, have I ever seen people posting infant children because they're upset over a trail? That's crazy, okay? I can't stand Ben Shapiro, but I would never, ever, ever direct any person to post his kids, his family, to go after his team. Like, they're working for him. Like, it's a job. Oh my God, he wants to do content on kids. Oh, I'm going to blame them. It's so beyond anything I've ever seen. And fine, like, I'm happy because it's just that's gonna be gas in the tank. I promise you that. We'll go all year. We'll just be like, this is a never-ending series. This is the song that never ends. It just goes on and on. My friend, where my 90s kids at? Where my 90s kids at? That's us. We know what that is. We know what that's about. If you don't know what that's about, I'm sorry you weren't a 90s kid. You're on the outside of that one. Anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow.